Hey everyone, welcome back to Couch Conversations with Sasha Love. I'm your host, Sasha Love, and I'm super excited to be with you guys here again today. I'm a little distracted because I was looking at myself in the camera. I was like, wow, the lighting on point, angles on point. I love it. But anyways, we'll dive right into the topic today, continuing our series, Living a LOB or Living a Life on a Budget. And we're going to talk about generational patterns. So, this is a very important thing to talk about when it comes to money because sometimes I feel we underestimate how much our upbringing, our past, and our childhood affect the way that we use money on a regular basis. So, things that I'm thinking about are, like I mentioned in the first episode, like our concepts around money, like how easy it is to obtain, what it's used for, or always having this mindset that there's never enough or there's not enough for everyone, but also in other things too in giving money. So sometimes some of us have grown up in cultures and families where we have this expectation where if a family member needs money, that you give money without boundaries, without restraint, carelessly. So there's a lot of things that kind of come with that. There's a lot of like deconstructing that we sometimes have to do when it comes to money. Um, as we mentioned before, but in today's episode, we're going to specifically highlight generational patterns that could be dangerous, that could be harmful to how we manage money, and ways that we can hopefully break those cycles and try or and expose ourselves or open ourselves up to a different way of thinking when it comes to managing money. So, generational patterns for every family, it's going to be different, but I'll highlight a couple in this episode. I may dive into a few more in the podcast, and I will also kind of talk a little bit more about it. But I also want to encourage you to think about some generational patterns with money that you've seen. Um, have you seen people who just spend recklessly, just like spend all they have, and they're always in the negative or they're always not having enough? Did you grow up in a household where it was the opposite? Every penny was saved and not a single dollar was wasted, and you even knew the price of a glass of milk or the price of a single cookie or the price of a serving of rice. Was your family a family where family money wasn't talked about? It wasn't discussed. It wasn't something that was brought to the table. Were you told that money was a rite of passage, that you were too young to worry about it, or it wasn't a big deal, or it was all going to work out? You don't have to worry about all the nuances and details about it. So regardless of those, just some examples I threw out there, but take some time to think about some generational patterns that you've observed in your family. Take note of it, process through it, understand it, and make a conscious effort to see if there are ways for you to break those patterns, to break those habits, especially if you notice that they're harmful. So the first one I'm going to highlight is giving money without boundaries or restraint. And I hope that you guys understand when I say without boundaries and restraint, I'm not saying it from a mean place. I'm saying it from a place of like discipline and also authenticity. When a family member comes to you and asks for money, um it's okay to give money. There's nothing wrong with it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with choosing to give money, especially out of the kindness of your heart, especially if you have the room in the budget, if you have the room in in like your financial plan and things like that. There's nothing wrong with that. But in a space where you're living life on a budget, it's sometimes important to be mindful of where your money is going, especially when it comes to people who are asking for money. So, if you have a family member asking you for money, there are several things that I encourage you to think about. The first is, do you have the capacity or the bandwidth or the space or the ability to give money to this person? Is it something that's going to hurt you long term, or will it not really affect you in the long term or the short term? Another thing to think about is this a habit this family member has? Unfortunately, in some families, we have family members that just ask for money just because. Either they choose not to work or they choose not to do certain things with their lives or they choose to live their lives a certain way. and they expect other people, family, friends, people around them, to come in and rescue them, to come in and just give them the money and to give them whatever they need and whatever it is that they want, without a sense of accountability, without a sense of responsibility. So, if you're noticing that this is a pattern, it's happening every week or every month or every so often, and using your discernment, you realize, well, this person's not really responsible with the money, or they're not actively looking for work or trying to work or trying to become independent, or this person is um, putting the responsibility on other people to rescue them, to save them from their life situations and the different spaces that they may find themselves in. If you notice that those are the patterns that you're seeing, it may be wise to hold back or to find other ways of helping people. Sometimes when someone asks you for financial help, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be the one to give them money to fix whatever the situation is. Sometimes it means offering advice. Maybe it means offering a listening ear. Maybe it means offering a connection. Maybe it's sending a suggestion for like for a suggestion for like websites or documentary or something that could be helpful in managing finances. One thing I've noticed in my own life is when I reach the point where I realize that it's not for people to save me financially, it's for me to take responsibility for my finances, and to learn how to move forward accordingly. That's when the game changed for me. And it also helped me be more accountable to myself when I gave money, but also when I received it, to be more mindful of how I use it, to be more mindful of how I am responsible for it. It also challenged me to learn tough lessons. Like there are some investments that aren't wise to make, and there are other investments that were wise to make. So it while it was painful, while it wasn't easy, I appreciated the opportunity to learn after falling, um after falling or after a mishap or after something that happened basically where I had to face financial decisions I've made. It helped me grow and it helped me become more mindful and more careful about how I spend money. So we talked about when someone asks you, checking to see if you have the capacity. If you do not have the capacity, it's okay to say no. You have the option to say yes or no. And the second thing to ask yourself, is this a pattern that this person has? Is there a sense of entitlement? Is there a sense of lack of accountability? Is there a sense of this person is just seems to just keep asking for money, expecting to be rescued every single time they're in a situation or a crisis? Then that could be another potential red flag for, hey, like I may need to be careful giving this person money or be wary or cautious of how much money I give this person. The third and final thing is to be mindful of the people around you who have negative mindsets about money, whether it's money doesn't grow on trees, whether it's, oh, you're not going to ever get to that level, you won't be able to achieve those dreams, or um, why are you suddenly, making all these changes, or what have you, whatever negative thoughts, whatever negative space you may be in, be mindful of that because sometimes that can influence you in terms of the decisions you make and how you choose to move when it comes to your financial space and financial responsibilities. So, unfortunately, not everyone always has the best intentions for us. Not everyone has the same excitement that we have about getting to a better financial space and being the best versions of ourselves and growing and being better. And as we grow in this space, as we learn how to do things better, you'll start to notice that there are people who may not agree with you. And it's also some people who may project their negativity and negative perspectives about money and finances upon you. And sometimes they may not even realize that's what they're doing. They may say things like, "Oh, it's your family. You should always give money to family," or "It's your friend. You should always, give money to your friend no matter what. Like that's what a good friend is," or "You don't have to save that much. I mean, it's one life to live, so spend as much as you have, spend as much as you want." Um, so be careful of that because while some people may be well-meaning, Some people aren't. And sometimes some of the things that they may say or some of the advice they may give you is not helpful. So yeah, so those are the three things we talked about. Checking in with your finances when someone asks you for money to see if it's something that you can do. Being aware of patterns of people in your family who ask for money to see if is it a healthy habit? Are they doing something unhealthy? Are you more in the role of enabling someone? Or are you in a space where you kind of create clear boundaries and restrictions around this person so they don't take advantage of you? And the third thing is being mindful of your space. Are you around people who are like minded, who are open minded and are learning and are actively trying to learn how to manage finances better for now and also in the future? Or are they holding you back with their misconceptions about money, with their negative thoughts about money, or maybe unfortunately misguided advice that they give you? So, be wary of these generational patterns, be wary of these generational habits, and hopefully this video was helpful and kind of keep helping you keep an open mind about how to navigate those things. And if you thought this topic was helpful, definitely check out my podcast because we're going to dive much deeper into this, and where you can hear more of my thoughts and more of my experience. So until next time, take care.
Pop your melanin, girlfriend. Pop your melanin. Pop your melanin, girlfriend.